I do have to say also that, and this is a little bit of, I'm a little angry as I talk about this. Those who continually chided the city of Yonkers for being fiscally irresponsible do so to cover the unwillingness of our state government to correct an inadequate and unfair school funding formula that has shortchanged the city of Yonkers, our school children, our taxpayers, and our children for decades. When we're finally treated the same as every other large city in the state, we will enjoy the fiscal stability that Yonkers residents are entitled to. And for that reason, I have proposed a budget that does not undo all the good that we've achieved, and achieved that over the last 4 or 5 years. And I call on our state delegation and our state government to work with the 4th largest city in New York State to solve the school funding problem for good. Failure is unacceptable. They've admitted individually, every single one of them, right on up to the governor's office, that the funding formula does not work. Well, now it's time to do so publicly and fix it, and we have 1 year. So our choice was, do we cut our legs out now and not allow ourselves to move forward? Or do we go full charge for 1 year with every resource we have and get New York State to finally own up to their responsibility publicly and fund our schools publicly the way they fund every other large city, and put us in a position where we can fund the municipal side with those revenues and then build a bigger economy for the years to come, where they will not have to come and help us the way they've had to over the years. I think this over here, and we left this up here, it's last year's funding numbers, and by the way, this year's get worse. If you look at the 2007-2008 revenue distribution in our Board of Education, you can see where the city contributions are in yellow. The blue represents those other funds like grants that the school systems apply for, and then down below in red are all the indications of what New York State funds in the school systems for the 5 large cities. You can see the imbalance. We're not suggesting that they don't help the upstate cities as they have in the past because they clearly need it. What we're saying is we are just like them, help us in the exact same way, and we don't have a problem anymore. I haven't been following along on the screen to see if they've been keeping up with me, so I hope all of the different slides did keep up. But basically, that's where we are. That's where we are now. We have a balanced budget. We have no cuts. And what we're saying is we're basically we're opening up the piggy bank, we're emptying all of our revenues. We've decided not to let the city come crashing down in 1 year when we know that the problems that are here are not self-created. And that the solution is with a partnership with New York State, the likes of which we haven't been able to get until now, or until this funding problem is solved. And once that's done, we don't have a funding problem anymore. We're not asking for any more than anyone else gets in our position and of our size. Now, I'd like to open up to the city council members if there are any questions. Yes.
Mayor, I have 2 questions. Moving forward, will we as a body work together to create early strategic plans so that we can go up to Albany early and try to come to some kind of solution?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good question. We actually have a strategic plan. It's one we've been proposing over the last couple of years, but I think what we finally got to do is we've got to start it on day 1. Rather than starting it in January, which is when we typically make our visits up to Albany, and every one of you have made them, and our superintendents made probably as many or more than I have, and our unions have done it, and the PTAs have done it. So we've got to start now. We should even wait until this budget is adopted. We should start now by going up to Albany and having them, enrolling them in our vision for what the city should be, and enrolling them in our vision of how our schools should be funded. Yes, and we should start it immediately, and it's just a matter of taking our existing business plan. That's what it is, a business plan for a city and a Board of Education, and starting to push the business plan's adoption by the state and us as partners for the next year. We have 1 year to get it done.
And my second question was, should we as a city start to look into employing someone to do grant writing to help also some of those small costs that we have?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it may seem like a little, but grants can pay a significant amount of cost, as the Board of Education does very well every year, and some of our departments do too. And yes, we are actually putting together, we're actually putting in a position for readjusting, not putting in a new one, to have somebody do the grant writing and coordinate the grant writing for the city so that we capture any possible grants that might be out there that will help us with a lot of the programs we're trying to provide.
May I
Yes.
ask what constitutes the other findings? You seem to have a
Sure.
high ratio there in blue areas.
Yeah, the other funding in large part are grants. I know in years past, I don't know what the exact number is right now, but in years past, our Board of Education has actually been able to secure as much as $40 million in grants. And that's an enormous part of the budget. It's for specialized programs, for programs that they've incorporated into their schooling. And I'm sure that every other city does the exact same thing. Yes.
A few months ago, the city council passed a resolution, you probably remember, requesting a 3 to 5 year projection of the next coming budget so that we can plan better.
Yes.
Can we get that at this point in time while we're going through this budget, so we know what we're facing and what we need to prepare for?
I'd like to address that, yeah.
It's in the budget already.
It is in the
Oh, it
budget,
is?
but I have to say that it's at best an academic exercise. And the reason for that is because so much of the state funding is unknown every year. As you know, it's unknown frankly until literally the day they adopt their budget. And for us to project that, I'd love to project that what we know we are entitled to and deserve, but we can't do that. If we put that in there, it would increase their funding by a dramatic amount, and that would put us in a position where we can legitimately put out a 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 year projection that's real. That we base whatever new programs we're looking to provide on what we know we can generate in revenues from our city. Right now, there's such a gap between what we should be getting from New York State and what we actually get from New York State that we can't do that. So it's a lot of guesstimates on the state side, but we are providing that for your, and I promise you that once we get that kind of funding, we can do a much more, what I consider, a much more legitimate business plan for projecting out several years. That's one that, when the time comes, it'll be real. Yes, John?
I was wondering if you or Commissioner LaPerche could sort of go through the timing of the CIP, because you alluded to the fact that we're going to bond the certiораries for $3.5 million, that we have a new CIP that you want authorization for, but not necessarily bonding. I don't know if that cert number is in there or not. And then when are we going to go to market with the stuff that we bonded last time that we haven't yet?
Well, the